On the morning of September 25, 2025, Dallas, Texas was jolted awake by gunfire, a sound that shattered the city's usual sense of security and signaled the start of a day no one would soon forget. The target was an ice field office, a place that, until that moment, had been just another government building in the heart of the city. The attack began at precisely 6:40 a.m., a time when most employees were just starting their day, and the streets outside were still quiet. In an instant, the routine calm was shattered, transforming the federal building into a scene of chaos and fear. Shots rang out from an adjacent building, where the shooter had positioned themselves for maximum advantage. The vantage point allowed for a clear line of sight into the office, catching everyone inside completely off guard and leaving little time to react. Inside, panic erupted. Employees and detainees scrambled for cover, diving behind desks and searching desperately for safety as bullets tore through the office windows. The confusion and fear were overwhelming, with people unsure where the next shot would come from. The calculated nature of the assault quickly became apparent. The shooter had exploited the building's vulnerabilities, choosing a time and place that would maximize the impact and confusion, suggesting careful planning and a chilling intent. Detainees, many of whom were in a transitional phase and awaiting transfer, found themselves especially exposed. Trapped in a holding area never designed for such violence, they had nowhere to run and no way to protect themselves from the sudden onslaught. The attack lasted only minutes, but in that short span, lives were changed forever. The immediate aftermath was one of devastation. Shocked employees and detainees trying to process what had just happened, the office left in ruins. Sirens soon filled the air as first responders raced to the scene, their arrival marked by flashing lights and a sense of urgency. No one knew if the shooter was still at large, adding to the tension and uncertainty. Law enforcement officers entered a building in disarray, facing a complex and tragic situation. The threat was hidden, the environment chaotic, and the safety of everyone inside was still uncertain. Their first priority was to secure the area and provide aid to the wounded. As paramedics and police worked together, the true scale of the tragedy began to emerge, with each moment revealing new layers of shock and heartbreak. In just a few minutes, a single shocking act of violence had transformed the city's morning, leaving Dallas forever changed, and its people searching for answers in the aftermath. When the gunfire finally ceased, the toll was grim. 2 people lost their lives, including a detainee and the gunman himself, marking a day of tragedy that would not soon be forgotten. In addition, 2 more individuals were left critically injured, their fates hanging in the balance as first responders worked desperately to save them. The deceased detainee died inside the ICE facility, caught in the chaos and unable to escape the violence that erupted so suddenly. Meanwhile, the shooter was discovered in a nearby building, having taken his own life with a self-inflicted wound, ending the rampage but leaving many questions unanswered. The injured, both of whom were also detainees, were rushed to the hospital under heavy police escort. Their conditions remained uncertain, and the community anxiously awaited updates on their recovery. Remarkably, no ICE employees or law enforcement officers were physically harmed during the incident, underscoring the shooter's apparent focus on targeting those in federal custody rather than staff or bystanders. The fact that all the victims were detainees raised difficult questions about the shooter's motives and whether the attack was premeditated or driven by personal grievances. Officials withheld the victims' identities, citing the need to notify families, many of whom may be living overseas or in distant states, making communication even more challenging in the aftermath of such a tragedy. For these individuals, the journey to the United States ended in heartbreak, their lives and dreams shattered by violence they could never have anticipated when they first arrived. The human cost of the event extends far beyond the numbers, touching families and communities both near and far from Dallas, leaving scars that may never fully heal. The ICE office, once just another government building, became a symbol of loss, vulnerability, and the unpredictable dangers faced by those inside. As the city mourned together, residents grappled with the senselessness of the attack, searching for answers and hoping for healing in the wake of such profound loss. The shooter was quickly identified as 29-year-old Joshua Jahn, found dead in a building overlooking the ICE office. Jahn's method was chilling. He turned an adjacent structure into a sniper's nest, firing into the facility from a distance. This approach allowed him to inflict harm while remaining hidden, underscoring the attack's premeditation. Investigators began piecing together Jahn's background. searching for clues to his motives and planning. The sniper-style assault exposed vulnerabilities in security protocols, prompting urgent reviews by federal and local authorities. Such attacks are difficult to prevent, as threats can emerge from unexpected vantage points. The Dallas tragedy forced a reckoning with new forms of risk facing government facilities. The targeted building was an ICE field office, a hub for processing newly arrested individuals, not a long-term detention center. Here, detainees are documented, interviewed, and held temporarily before transfer. The office is a busy, transitional space filled with uncertainty and anxiety for those inside. The processing area where the victims were located is typically secure but not fortified against external attacks. ICE's work is deeply polarizing, with supporters viewing it as essential to law enforcement and critics decrying its tactics as inhumane. The agency sits at the center of heated national debates over immigration policy. The Dallas field office, like others, operates amid this political storm, making it a symbolic target. The attack underscored the vulnerability of those caught in the system's crosshairs. Dallas police responded within minutes, treating the incident as a top priority active shooter situation. Officers raced to the scene, their training kicking in as they prepared for the worst. The urgency was clear, every second counted, and the safety of countless people depended on their rapid response. Initial confusion about the shooter's location complicated efforts, with officers scanning rooftops and nearby streets for any sign of danger. But through quick communication and teamwork, they soon determined the threat was external, not inside the building as first feared. A systematic search of the area led to the discovery of John's body outside, ending the immediate danger and allowing responders to shift their focus to securing the scene and helping the injured. The response quickly expanded to include the FBI, ATF, and Department of Homeland Security, reflecting the federal nature of the target and the seriousness of the attack. These agencies brought specialized skills and resources to the unfolding investigation. Multi-agency coordination brought together resources and expertise, ensuring a thorough investigation. Teams worked side by side, sharing intelligence and developing a unified strategy to address the threat and gather evidence. Dallas Fire Rescue paramedics treated the wounded as soon as the area was secure, their swift action critical to saving lives. They moved quickly and efficiently, providing vital care under intense pressure and uncertainty. The seamless cooperation among police, federal agents, and medical teams was a testament to their training. Each responder knew their role, and together they formed a united front against chaos. While tragedy could not be averted, the rapid response prevented further loss. Their actions contained the threat and protected countless others from harm. The city's first responders demonstrated professionalism under extreme pressure, remaining calm and focused even as the situation unfolded around them. Their actions provided a measure of hope amid the chaos, reminding the community that even in the darkest moments, courage and compassion endure. With the threat neutralized, investigators turned to the question of motive. The FBI began a deep dive into John's life, his digital footprint, relationships, and possible ideological influences. Authorities sought to determine if he acted alone or was part of a broader network. Forensic teams scoured both the ICE office and the sniper's perch for evidence, searching for notes, plans, or digital communications. Tracing John's path to radicalization became central, as officials looked for links to extremist groups or online communities. The investigation balanced public updates with the need to protect its integrity. Officials cautioned that understanding the full motive would take time and careful analysis. The search for answers was methodical, aiming to prevent future tragedies. The shooting quickly became a flashpoint in America's polarized political landscape. Republican leaders blamed anti-law enforcement rhetoric, arguing it fosters violence against agencies like ICE. They defended ICE's role and condemned criticism as dangerous. Democrats and progressives, meanwhile, pointed to inflammatory language about immigrants as a root cause of violence. They called for compassion and warned against rhetoric that dehumanizes vulnerable populations. Instead of unity, the tragedy deepened existing divisions, with each side reinforcing its own narrative. The Dallas attack became another battleground in the nation's ongoing culture wars. The speed of politicization revealed just how entrenched these divisions have become. The divide was stark in statements from former President Trump and Congressman Mark Veazey. Trump blamed radical left Democrats, claiming their criticism of law enforcement led to the attack, despite no evidence of motive. His message rallied supporters and fit neatly into his established narrative. Veazey, representing Dallas, called for de-escalation and accused officials of exploiting the tragedy for political gain. He urged leaders to focus on mourning and supporting the community, not scoring points. Veazey challenged the idea that criticism of policy equates to inciting violence, instead warning about the dangers of dehumanizing rhetoric. The two perspectives, one blaming criticism of law enforcement, the other warning against anti-immigrant language, highlighted a deep chasm. Each side saw the tragedy through its own lens, escalating conflict or pleading for restraint. The aftermath revealed how political leaders interpret responsibility in the wake of violence. The Dallas shooting and its aftermath highlight the power and danger of words in a polarized era. In moments of crisis, leaders' statements can either unite or divide, shaping public response and memory. The rush to assign blame before facts are known only deepens wounds and politicizes tragedy. True leadership centers the victims, prioritizes compassion, and allows investigators to do their work. Honest dialogue about root causes is essential, but must be approached with care and nuance. Blaming entire movements for one act of violence oversimplifies complex realities and hinders real solutions. The path forward demands responsible communication from leaders, media, and the public alike. The victims deserve to be remembered as people, not political symbols. Honoring their memory means striving for dialogue that heals, not divides.